Hello, what's up lads? It's me, M Phoenix here. This video will be a very little different on my usual uploads. As you're hearing it right now, it's me speaking in the video. I wanted to make more videos like this in the upcoming future as you witness me over this journey of improving myself on better speaking. Now, without further ado, let's get into the main video itself. This video in particular had always been on my mind ever since the Arknights anime adaptation is announced. It's less than a day left before the first episode of the anime going to hit on air as of the writing of the script. So I decided to make a pre-release video in more of a format before you watch. Since it doesn't make sense for me if this video is more of a what we know so far, since this video could be late on upload. So let's go now on a different parts that I wanted to discuss on this video. Now for the studio details, we have the music and BA, the director and the current experience of the studio. Now for the game itself, the Arknights and what episodes or chapters the anime would cover. And lastly, my conclusion and concerns, which were some of my opinions will be put down. So let's start talking about it. The studio that will handle the anime was Yoestar Pictures. Yoestar Pictures are a fairly new studio on the scene, just founded on January 31, 2020. Now, the whole story of how the studio came to be is quite interesting, since some or one of the founding members have experience on working with Trigger before that came into business with Yoestar. Studio Trigger, for those who don't know, is a big name within the anime industry. They're the ones responsible for making such hit works, like when supernatural battles became commonplace, I am surprised too that they handled this one, as Squidman and Dynazenon, Little Witch Academia and Kill la Kill, and more. For another notable more newer example that the Studio Trigger had handled, they're also the ones responsible for the Cyberpunk Edge Runner. Next for our talk is the director for the Arknights Prelude Down, Yuki Watanabe. Yuki Watanabe is quite an interesting one since based on my research, this is his first full-on director work for an entire production. Meaning Arknights anime is his technically debut as a full-on director. His portfolio is quite large, meaning he is already experienced on doing the certain jobs on a anime production. Music and the voice actors. Now, for the sake of making this section short, I'm happy to inform you all viewers that as far as my reading goes, the BAs of the game will be returning to voice back their characters in the anime. Another detail I found interesting about the BAs are that, slight spoiler, the BAs of Skull Shutter and Misha, Ryusei Matsuda and Satsumi Matsuda, are siblings in real life, which I found it funny that this might just be a sheer coincidence or an intended chosen pick, which I gotta say, I like that detail. The music part of the anime will be done by Legendor. Aside from that, Rayona will be doing the opening of the anime. And yes, for those who are new, Rayona is back, since she did a animation music video on Arknights back then, which in turn became a classic among the players. The ending theme will be Running in the Dark by Monkey Magic. This particular song got played in at the end of the 3.5 anniversary of CN. If I remember correctly, it was played in the end and also have already some animation into it, which I think it's indeed the ending song of the anime. Now, the current portfolio of the Yoestar Pictures. Looking at the other projects that they have involved in as a outsourced studio, they got involved with some really big name hits anime that got released since the studio founding. The list is huge, so I would display some over the screen. Now, for the last part before my opinion and the concern section came in, what episodes or chapters of the game will be covered by the anime? Now, based on all infos that we have so far, and especially considering the episode count, Arknights Prelude to Down will be covering the entirety of Prologue Act Chapter 0 to 3, and maybe some parts of the 4, which under other words, the Wu Act 0. Now, since we have talked about like every notable things at this point, even if I just briefly talk about it, let's head straight on my opinion about it all. Now, I really don't have any particular concern on the production itself, or by any means problem about the All-Star Pictures. It's just the fact this is their very first full-on anime. Now, they did some ONA and PBs on some of the All-Star handled games, and also the fact, as I mentioned already and shown, the people of All-Star Pictures are already quite experienced with their previous works and the other animes they have helped on production. So, it's fairly easy to say that they can handle the production fine, right? Now, as I've said before too, this is also Yuki Watanabe debut as a director of the whole production, or at least the director of being the whole production itself. He's quite already a experienced guy, so I believe even if this is his first full-on directorial work, I think he can handle it well. Well, at least hopefully. Now, as for my last concern and opinion about the anime is, of course, the story itself, and the concern about the anime only is views on it. Now, I'm Phoenix. What's the problem about the story? Arknights anime, it's super hyped, so it's good, right? Now, Arknights in its entirety offers a really good story. So good, only few gacha games out there that I can truly tell and say that they are on the same level of story in Arknights. Now, for the storytelling part, not to be confused with the story, let's be honest, it's not that great and it's just above average at least. Now, of course, after all, the best selling point of Arknights is its world building, which is the absolute masterpiece of Hypergrip. Now, this is important thing to say because the particular Act 0, isn't really the one that kick off the gas in the story of Arknights. In fact, Act 1 is the one that truly shows how good the story can be, which is unfortunately Act 0 didn't have that great of a writing, which is during the time when Arknights is just new, people dropping the game because for them the story is really not that great. Which sucks that many people have quitted because they just thought about that, and given the impression that the story is bad at its first few chapters, we cannot blame them, and even me thought the story is very average at first. And thank my lord, low light of me still sticking since it's absolutely worth it. So, at the end note, for those who haven't played the game and this is your first time, I absolutely assure you that the story will get better. If there is a season 2 announced in the end, if there is a season 2, it will be a very worthwhile of a wait, or just play the game to see what happens next. Now, for those people that are playing Arknights and since then still sticking on it, I put my high hopes that hopefully all of us doctors will be enjoying the anime. And for now, see you later doctors, as me going to sleep and probably watching the anime tomorrow. And see you all lads. Peace.